Greetings, lovely people, and welcome to Fast Track Thoughts. Today we're going to be talking about the final episode of Series 13 of Doctor Who, Flux, The Vanquishers, Episode 6. Spoilers ahead, just roll the intro. Okay, so, The Vanquishers. I have a lot of notes on, what actually happened, and you know what? Things happened that made a bit more sense than last episode, whatever you want to say, but oh boy, there was only really, there was kind of two plots, there was kind of three, there was kind of just one. The Doctor was in three places at once this episode, and I guess I'll just go through my notes. I'm not really going to go into detail, and then I have some major things I just want to grab about at the end. As always, I'll have it split into what I see as the two main plots, which is Ravagers and Sontarans, and then I'll have my final thoughts and other stuff that I just want to point out that doesn't really fit into the main story outline that I like to do. So, yeah, let's start with the Ravagers. Azure, that's the female Ravager's name. Her name is Azure. Like the gemstone or whatever. I made a reference to it before, but I just couldn't remember what her name was. But yeah, her name's Azure. I finally figured that out. I literally they didn't even say it in the episode. I just remembered it. The Doctor really easily escapes Swarm. The Ood is cool. There's literally a line that is not quite this, but it's essentially the Doctor says something to the effect of "There goes the neighborhood," which has connotations I don't necessarily know if Chibnall knows about. I don't care enough to go into it. I've got another thing saying that Ood is the best. I like the Ood. The Ood's great. I wish he had a name. The fact he's just called Ood is really depressing. Because he's like the best character in this series. The Doctor is in flux in this episode. 3 different versions of her. She joins Carvanista and Bell at one point, and then she joins the Companions, which when I actually get to the Sontaran section, that's when I talk about all that stuff. But yeah, she temporarily visits Carvanista and Bell. That's fun. Swarm could just kill the Doctor at any point, but instead he wants to torture her. It's kind of dumb because, especially as someone who apparently has known the Doctor for a very, very long time, and has like great vengeance towards her, would surely know that it's easier just to get rid of her, just to destroy her. Do what you did to Tayun, just vaporize her. But no, he's not smart enough for that. I don't even... Thing is, this episode has been such a mess, and I'm so tired of this bullshit, that I literally have a note saying, why is the Doctor so good at everything? And I don't know what it is that it's referencing, because there's a lot of moments where she just does things miraculously, and yeah, that's it's not really helpful as a little citation. Oh yeah, I do actually have... Okay, I need to move some of these notes. My notes are a mess because of the fact that it was 3 Doctor things. I was trying to follow the Doctor, and yeah, I don't know anymore. Just delete the past. I don't even know what that's a reference to. I don't know what's happening in these. I barely remember what happened at the start of this episode. I'm just looking at my notes. I'm just like, what's even happening? Oh yeah, so they then... That's what it is. So they take her to the black and white dimension with the broken down house that the Doctor's been visiting all series. And that's her, like, mind palace, to use a term from good old Sherlock. And, yeah, that's all her memories that she lost. And Swarm just decides to start destroying it. And he says that she can feel, or Azure says it, one of the Ravagers says that the Doctor can feel all of her memories that she doesn't have being destroyed, and basically that she will feel even more pain from it. Fine, okay, cool. I don't understand. If she doesn't have these memories, how is destroying them hurting her? But I don't know. Logic isn't exactly the best thing that Chibnall can has power over. I don't even know what I'm saying. This, if you can't tell by how I'm talking, by my cadence, I am so done. I really hated this episode. So then, what else? Swarm says that you can do this forever in terms of just destroying her memories and torturing the Doctor. Unfortunately, you don't have forever, Swarm, so too bad. You can't do that forever. Sorry about that noise. They want to stop space to appease time, it turns out. I still don't understand what that means. They never explain it, and yeah, I don't know. They reveal, I say, as if that's an actual reveal, that the Doctor is obsessed with life and order and, you know, keeping things alive and building things up and all that. Sorry about that noise. Like, of course she is. She's the Doctor. The Doctor is supposed... Like, stop telling us what the Doctor should be and actually have the Doctor be that. Yeah, but... Yeah, they make a point of that, you know... It's like how in last episode we had the thing of, like, morality is a weakness or whatever, morality is a strength. It's like, it means nothing. Yes, we know that the Doctor has morals. We know that the Doctor loves life. It's like, you don't need to tell us that. Show us a Doctor that actually has morals and loves life. Because so far, the 13th Doctor has not been that. We finally get some proper screen time for Azure. It's about time, you know. 6 episodes into a 6-episode series, and we finally get one of the main villains to have actual screen time. It's you know, better late than never, I guess. We basically find out that the Ravagers are the Doctor Who version of Thanos. They're kind of like, you know, they think that what they're doing is like for the good of reality, but then they're also cartoonishly evil. So I don't really, they're not Thanos in the way that Thanos is actually like, you know, there is a point to what he's doing. It's not a good point, but it is a point. What the Ravagers are doing is completely redundant. They don't have to do it. They're doing it out of spite, if anything. But yeah, they try and make it out to be like this divine purpose, and I don't get it. I literally write down, what did Division do to the Ravagers? We never find out. We don't find out. They bring it up that the Ravagers were hurt or in some way imprisoned or whatever by the Division, and specifically the Doctor and Tecteun, but we never find out what actually happened to them. We don't know what the Division did, and I doubt we're returning to this plot point, so that's fun. They say time as witness, because time is a literal, physical concept at this point, I guess. I just have unstable experience written down, which that's my experience of watching the show. I have the third little note saying that the Ood is cool. I like the Ood. The Ood is great. I need to write down that the Ood is cool every time it happens, just because the Ood is the only shining light in this series. And he's only in 2 episodes, and one of them he barely appears in. The flux cannot be prevented, according to the Ood. Then the Doctor just knows that Swarm and Azure are Ravagers. It's the first time that Ravagers has actually been said outside of the promotional material. The only reason I know that they're called Ravagers is because it's in the promotional material. They never call themselves the Ravagers. No one calls them the Ravagers at any point. Then suddenly the Doctor's like, the Ravagers. It's like, okay then, I guess you're naming them now. Just the Doctor just knows these people, let's be honest. The Doctor is referred to as the first Time Lord by Swarm, which technically, yeah, she is, apparently. Timeless Child and all that. The Ood dies, I think. You know what, this episode's been such a mess, I can't actually remember if we see the Ood die, but the Ood is trapped somewhere that's about to be destroyed. I don't know what happened. I wrote Rip Ood, so I assume he dies. You will be missed. The Ood was the best character in this. They then go to Atropos, which is the time temple place that we went to before. And the physical incarnation of time, which takes the form at first of Swarm and then later the Doctor, says that time is coming up for the Doc. Okay. That's about normal. That's what we hear normally when a Doctor is coming towards the end of their tenure. And then we hear no regenerations. I think that's a lie, seems as this show isn't ending. We already know the showrunner, and we have plenty of ideas as to who the next Doctor is because of a few minor leaks that I'm not going to get into because this is not the video for it, but no regenerations is nonsense because we know that Jodie isn't the last Doctor. We know we're going to get another Doctor after this, so whatever, yeah. There's a mention of a Master, but the actual line is the Master, but then the Doctor says, a Master, who's your Master? I don't know whether they are meaning Master, as in the character, the Master, or if it's just unfortunate that they just happened to say that in a Time Lord story, but whatever. So yeah, the Doctor experiences a reckoning with time. That's basically what that entire interaction is. And then the 3 Doctors become one. Okay. Yeah, that was a mess. I don't know who the Ravagers are still. Who are Swarm and... I didn't even mention it. Swarm and Azure get killed by time. They just get disintegrated like they've done to so many other characters. They just get disintegrated. We don't find out what happened to them. We don't know their past. We don't really know anything about them. They're the overarching villain of this series. And we don't have a clue about them. I mean, I don't. And I have extensive notes. Like, you don't... Like, I when I'm doing these videos, it sounds like my notes are pretty brief. But no, I have probably tens of thousands of words on this series written down in my notes. And I still don't know, even after I started on the review of the series, covering some of the stuff that went nowhere, just because I can get that out of the way, and I obviously had to reread through a lot of notes. Nothing that I have written about the Ravagers actually tells me who the Ravagers are. They're enemies from when the Doctor was part of Division, and that's it. We don't know what their purpose is, we don't know their goals, we don't know, if they were Division members at one point, or if they were just always the villains of Division. Were they the big bads? Were they the Master equivalent? Were they the evil Division? Though the Division is evil, so I don't even know what that would be. But, I don't know what the Ravagers are. At the end of a 6-part series that is one continuous story, I don't know who the main villains are. I know that they're the Ravagers. I know that the names are Azure and Swarm. And I know they use passengers. Other than that, I have literally no clue. They captured Di for no reason. I'm going to get into that in a second. But they captured Di for no reason. I don't understand their purpose. They were abducting humans to sacrifice to time or something. I don't even... I don't know their motivations. I don't know what their purpose was in the story. I just don't understand. Okay, what else? This episode has just been a mess, and I don't even know how to express my thoughts really with the wider episode because it is just nonsense. But yeah, that's the Ravagers section. I guess let's move on to the Sontarans. Okay, so in the cold open, where the Doctor is first flung into one of the 3 that are going to be venturing around this episode, the editing is terrible. And I don't normally gripe about editing, because this series has actually been really good for editing, for sound quality, for just visually, it's been amazing. This series has looked great, and, it's been coherent generally, other than the plot and the story and the writing. So it's I've been saying very nice things about, the editors and the filmography and cinematographers and all that, because they've been doing a great job. But when the Doctor, when she's split off into 3 and she's suddenly with the companions, the editing is a mess. It's a mess beyond anything I've ever witnessed in professionally made television. It feels like a fan film. Like a fan film, the first fan film someone's ever made or something. It's ridiculous. We then have Williamson. I wrote down old shouty man. Williamson comes back along with Kate. Kate's here, Unit Kate. I've blanked on her last name for some reason, but Kate is back. Yeah, we knew. It was in the trailer. The fact that like a classic character, not a classic character, but like a classic inspired character, I suppose, that we've learned to love from other incarnations of the Doctor, other series, comes back, and I'm just like, yeah, I mean, she's here. It says a lot about how this episode just doesn't utilize anything correctly. So she's the lead now, not of Unit, but of the human against Sontaran defense sort of thing, because the Sontarans have taken over. Did I mention that? The Sontarans have taken over. Oh boy. The Sontarans are then asking for an alliance with humans, and this later leads to them calling for an alliance with the Cybermen and the Daleks, but I'll get into that later. It's not a plot point that matters for the human bit, because we see the Sontaran leader basically being like, humans, we request an alliance sort of thing, but it goes nowhere. Like, it just goes nowhere. It's redundant. The Grand Serpent is back. He's working with the Sontarans. We already knew this. It gets reintroduced though. Sontarans win. You know, they've taken over. We see no real resistance against the Sontarans. They're just kind of on the streets. They're just, you know, it's like when the Daleks take over. Like, but with the Daleks, they can at least hit shots generally. We then find out that Yaz, Dan, and the Professor were actually, you know, traveling for a few years. It would have been nice if they actually represented that rather than trying to say that they traveled across the world multiple times within a year, because that was the time codes that were on screen. And I don't know if that's an editing error or a script error or what, but yeah, a few years. So presumably like 3 years they spent together. Okay. Yaz missed the Doctor. Like, that's a surprise. And then Kate Stewart says that we need undercover operatives, or that she has undercover operatives, which we never meet. And I was thinking, oh, it'd be like Zygons or whatever disguised. And there was a moment when I thought that there was actually a Zygon disguised as a Sontaran. That would have been cool. But no. No mention of the Zygons, despite the fact they are very much still around. They're still, you know, very much just part of humanity at this point. So, yeah, that's interesting. I just put nonsense in my notes, which, there's a lot of timey-wimey nonsense that's just said by the Doctor, and it gets called out. I'll give them it. You know, Yaz and Dan call out when the Doctor is just saying nonsense, but that doesn't excuse them putting nonsense in the script. Calling out your own lack of writing ability is not funny. It's just dumb. But yeah, they call the whole, like, undercover operative thing Operation Sontaran and Corner Shop. They find a Sontaran captain or commander or whatever he is, taking chocolate from a corner shop, because apparently chocolate is like crack to Sontarans. Like, they're addicted to it, they love it. Then Angel Lady is back. I've already forgot her name. It was only a few episodes ago and I've already forgot what her name is. They don't call her by her name. They call her Miss Brown. It's the only time she's actually given a name, and I can't remember what her first name is. But yeah, Angel Lady is back. She doesn't have an angel anymore. That's nice. We then find out that Carvanista was a companion at one point to the Division Doctor. That's interesting. Also, Carvanista has, like, a chip in his neck that'll kill him if he talks about the Doctor and Division. Okay then. The Lupari are all killed. Okay then. I have okay then written down, like, after every sentence in my notes for, like, a good while. But yeah, all the Lupari were killed by the Sontarans. So, you know that species that were, like, ridiculously pivotal to this series, that were introduced purely for this series? Yeah, no, they're never coming back because there's only one of them alive now. He's the last Lupari. Carvanista is the only Lupari that is still alive. And we still have no idea why one of the Lupari ships just disappeared. we also don't know where Bell... We don't know where the Lupari that owned Bell's ship went. Because she said it was an abandoned ship or whatever. She didn't steal it from a Lupari. She just took the ship that was empty. So where's that Lupari? So many questions. I'm going to get into that, but... Jeez. Okay. Yeah, Carvanista howls. Because they need to remind us that he's a dog, not a Wookiee. Bell somehow is able to just get around the Sontaran ship without getting caught. The thing is, I wouldn't be questioning this in a good series, but I'm made to question literally every move because no one else manages to avoid the Sontarans. Literally, everyone else gets caught by the Sontarans at some point. It's only Bell that manages to avoid them completely, and Anyway, so the passenger is revealed to be out. Also, these notes for the Sontaran stuff and the companion stuff are all just mixed together because we fly between different locations constantly. But yeah, the passenger that has Vinda and Dai in it is just out in a wasteland somewhere. Don't really find out where, but yeah. Dai and Vinda have adventures in passenger. They just venture around the area and stuff. Apparently, according to Dai, she was seen as insignificant, but that's a lie because clearly they saw her as significant enough to capture her specifically. So she is significant, but we don't know why, other than the fact that she knows Dan. And I'll get into something else with Dai later, but actually, you know what? We'll get into it now. Why does Dai know so much about alien technology that is thousands of years more advanced than what she is? She's just a normal... She's just a normal human from 2021. And she understands how a passenger works, a biotechnological life form. She understands its function. She knows how to use a laser weapon because of laser tag. Dai is an enigma of a character, and she's completely redundant to the story. I will get to that at the end. But, yeah, they escape using the laser gun that Vinda had. Dai had it and shot some passengers, and then they managed to escape the passenger that they were in. Cool, that's awesome. Then they're trapped in that wasteland that the passenger is in. We then experience psychic links. Oh yeah, there's two doctors interacting with each other. No issues there, apparently. No paradoxes. It's fine. But yeah, psychic links. Oh, and as well, so Angel Lady and the Professor are psychically linked together by the Sontarans as the undercover agents in order to figure out where the final end place for the flux is, which is the time place that I've already forgot the name of, even though it's in my notes. I don't care enough to scroll up to it. They reveal the Sontarans reveal that you will either die or succeed, and if you succeed, the reward is death. At least the consistent. The Doctor then mocks given names or chosen names because the Grand Serpent has the name Grand Serpent, and the Doctor kind of just mocks him, "Oh, did your parents give you that name?" It's I know it's a joke, but it just seems tone deaf to me. I don't know. Yeah, the Doctor talks too much and just should just shut up in this scene. Quite honestly, that's when the two Doctors are introduced, which is really annoying. They call each other cute, so the Doctor fancies herself. A point that is brought back when she interacts with time using her form. So yeah, the Doctor fancies herself. I mean, it's nothing necessarily new about the Doctor, but yeah, the Doctor fancies herself. They save the good boy, they save Carvanista. And then Dan somehow just knows that the Lupari are dead. Carvanista isn't shown to tell Dan, and the Doctors, I don't think, would have told Dan. So Dan just knows magically that Carvanista's species is dead and Carvanista is the last of his kind. Sontarans working with the Daleks and Cybermen, question mark. That's the truce thing that I mentioned earlier. It goes nowhere, really. There's a psychic link between the three doctors. We then find out that the flux is antimatter. Makes sense, really. It's destructive. It counters matter. Cool. They then try and track Artron energy, which isn't traceable. And by they, I mean the Grand Serpent tries to track Artron energy, which is known to be untraceable. It's something that you can find on people. Like, you can scan it, and you can see it's on somebody, so you can tell if someone's been in the TARDIS, but it's not something you can track. At least, not typically, anyway. So, Vinda and Dai are found by the Doctor. They put the TARDIS inside the passenger temporarily and stuff. They didn't explain anything in any way. I literally didn't explain shit in my notes. I don't know what that's referring to. I need to rewatch this episode. We then find out that Williamson is like the most important person in the universe or something, but we don't know who Williamson is. Williamson is the Victorian guy, by the way, in case you forgot that. But he's apparently really important. Good to know. Everyone's back together now, except for one of the three doctors is split off. The Sontarans kill the Daleks and Cybermen using the flux. We then get an explanation of that matter could counter the antimatter flux, but that's not how antimatter works, because antimatter destroys matter. It's kind of in the name, so yeah, that's interesting. The Lupari shields apparently are antimatter proof, which is interesting. We then have a bunch of audio that isn't mixed correctly. It's interesting, but yeah, this episode really just fell apart. We then hear the term Sontaran strategy, which is really close to Sontaran stratagem. They could have made a really good joke there, but whatever. The Professor gets trapped in a Sontaran ship. There's an ultimate betrayal by some... Oh, it was by the Sontarans towards the Daleks and Cybermen. The Daleks, the Cybermen, they turn up. The cyber ship design is terrible because it's not the more traditional design. It's the more modern design, which isn't very good. It's very blocky. The Daleks get easily wiped out, and so do the Cybermen. Because the Lupari ships are remote controlled, they're able to destroy the communications of the Sontaran battle fleet. The Professor is trapped, so he just dies. So, yeah, he just dies. I don't know what else to say there. We then get a reveal that Dai is just too smart. Like, she knows that using the passenger will be able to capture the entirety of the flux, because the passenger is infinite, which is not it's not infinite. The passenger isn't infinite. They say so. They say it only has a finite amount of space, but it's much like it's like Time Lord technology. It's not infinite. It's just much bigger on the inside. Then Prentice, rather than killing Vinda and Kate Stewart, just kind of monologues and then traps himself on a rock in deep space. Carvanista joins Belle and Vinda on their adventures. I guess the universe is just fixed now. The Professor died for nothing. Kate Stewart likes 13. I don't know why. It all goes full circle of Dan back at the museum. Dai denies Dan, which is great. It makes Dai as a character just completely redundant. And then Dan joins Yaz and the Doctor on the next adventure, which, yay! And this brings us, finally, onto potentially the worst scene in Doctor Who history. And it is, of course, we finally see an apology to Yaz from the Doctor. And if you've been watching this series up to now, as in the Fast Track Thoughts I've been doing, you'll know that I've been wanting a scene like this for a while. It's the end of a series where all the Doctor has done is berate Yaz or not even be with her. It's a little too late, Doc. It's a little too late for apologies at this point. And yeah, as is pretty standard for Yaz, the paper cut out of a character that could barely even be considered a character. She doesn't become angry. She doesn't become upset. She doesn't show really any emotions. which is about par for the course. I don't blame Yaz's actor. I think she has the potential to be excellent. Honestly, I had so much hope for Yaz. I really wanted Yaz to be a really good character, and just all my dreams are broken and shattered, and I will never recover from any of this. But yeah, Yaz isn't even angry or upset or really anything. We then have just more dialogue by the Doctor just, being obsessed with herself. She only cares about herself, really. She doesn't say that. None of this is said. But it's implied by the fact that literally the apology is, I was trying to figure myself out. That isn't an apology, that's an excuse. That's like, for the treatment that the Doctor has again towards Yaz, that is not an apology. But yeah, Yaz is too in love with the Doctor. They pretty much almost kiss, which, I've been saying for a while that, it would be a decent thing for them to, look at as just, this act, not even unrequited, because, obviously we've seen unrequited with Martha, and that's where most people think that Yaz is going to go. I think it's going to go all the way to Rose territory of just actually being, a full-on relationship, but, at the same time, if they were going to do that, they would have done that either at the start of this series, or actually, they would have done it 2 series ago. They're probably not going to do it, but yeah, Yaz is just in love. They got awkwardly close until Dan just, I don't know, just kind of made them stop by not knowing directions that he literally was given 10 seconds before. But yeah, that is a terrible scene, and I hate that all of the I can't remember what the ship name is, but all the people that wanted the Doctor and Yaz to be a thing, they've won. And I say, I was someone that was kind of on board with it until this series. This series completely ruined their relationship, in my opinion, despite the fact that they were supposed to be the only 2 characters that were actually in the TARDIS, despite the fact there's actually 17 different companions this series. But yeah, that's the worst scene in New Who. Without a doubt in my mind. That is the worst scene. And then, just to finish off the episode on another downer, we then have the Doctor with the pocket watch that contains all her memories of the division, and she just throws it into the TARDIS, telling the TARDIS to keep it away from her, keep it safe, don't destroy it or anything, but never let the Doctor have it. So the memories that, we've spent an entire 2 series, essentially, trying to find, have just been disregarded. All that was for nothing. All the Timeless Child stuff has no real end, no real conclusion, no answers. It's just disregarded, it's just ignored. So what was the point? What was the point? I want answers. What was the point here? What was the point of this entire arc? The Timeless Child is redundant. It's completely redundant. It's insane to me. And then that brings us on to the little mini trailer we had for the special, the New Year special. One of, I think, 3 specials that the Doctor is doing before she regenerates. It's a New Year's Day special, as I say. Nothing really surprising there. It's Daleks again. There's a Dalek with a minigun. Whatever. The characters from the last special coming back. I don't care anymore. I've had enough. I don't care about this Doctor. I don't care about these characters anymore. It's been ruined beyond all measure, in my opinion. And yeah, that's this episode. That is this episode. Now, I really only have 3 major things to talk about, but of course I'm going to probably go in way too much detail about all of them. So, as I've alluded to throughout this episode was tragically badly edited. And I don't know, I don't think I've said that at all about this series up until now. Because every other episode has been well shot, well lit, the editing has been great, the sound has been excellent, in my opinion. But this episode just dropped the ball. From the start, the editing was just all over the place, it was a mess. And there was audio issues. There was very clearly dubbed lines that sounded dubbed. They sounded like they were recorded in a completely different space, which Obviously, they will have been. But it shouldn't sound like that. The job of an audio editor is to actually fix slight inaccuracies in how something was recorded. The amount of issues in this episode around the editing is remarkable, because I make mistakes, but I'm one person. I'm just one person making, random commentary videos on YouTube using Sony Vegas. These are professional editors getting paid for what they do, and they're making simple mistakes. And I don't normally like to complain about this kind of stuff, because generally it's not important enough compared to what the bigger issues are, which is the writing to me. But I feel like I could have edited this better. And that's remarkable, because I'm terrible at editing. As anyone that's watched any of my high edited content will know, I cannot edit for shit. But this was tragic in how badly it was edited at times. And I'll still give it to him. It looked great. CGI on point. I don't think there was a bad shot. The only bad shot of this series was with the really shiny Daleks in was it episode 2? I can't remember right now, but the really shiny Daleks were the only effect that was that's a bit off. Otherwise, other than just my personal preferences, the ships being wrong for the Cyber Legion, I thought it was all good. I thought it was perfectly good, especially for the budget that a TV show like Doctor Who has. I thought it was excellent, but yeah, this episode, both the visual editing, the actual cuts, and the audio editing were just a mess. And I don't know whether it was they might have had to change this episode last minute or something based on feedback or whatever else, but I've seen them make changes to stuff before, really short notice, and it's never been this bad. So it's kind of weird how badly edited this was. But enough on that. I guess the final two things that I'm going to say is Bell and Vinda are the best characters, and Ood, but Bell and Vinda are the best two characters in this series. They're the only characters I care about at all, and for the most part, they weren't even connected directly with the main story. They were experiencing the events of Flux, but Vinda barely spent. He spent an episode with the Doctor, and then went off on his own, and Bell spent maybe 10 minutes total of screen time with the Doctor. They're not characters that were needed to be followed. They could have just been side characters that just appear, like the Angel Girl. Claire, I think her name is, but the Angel Woman, whatever. They could have been side characters like her, just, stepping stones that, ended up coming in the final episode. But no, we followed them in depth. And they were actually way better characters than Dan and Yaz ever could be. They were way better than pretty much any character. They were better than the Doctor, in my opinion. I thought their characters were interesting. I actually cared about them. Their plot, while a bit nonsensical at times, was really well done. I liked them. They were good characters. I would love a spin-off of them. As dumb as that sounds, I'd love to see a Bellaminda and I guess Calvinista now spin-off of just those three just travelling the universe in a Lupari ship. I think that'd be great. Put it on CBBC, the new Sarah Jane Adventures equivalent. Nothing will ever surpass Sarah Jane Adventures, don't get me wrong. But having, those three just venture around, and I guess their child as well, when they have their child, they were great characters. And then one of the only main companions that I actually liked, the Professor, is killed for no reason. Literally, the reason he dies is because him and Claire have been given transportation rings to get out of the Sontaran ship, and the Professor drops his, and then a Sontaran shoots it. And then he's trapped on the Sontaran ship when the Flux destroys it. He has no reason to die. It's just like in The Timeless Children, when that other random old guy is just killed, or sacrifices himself in that case, for no real reason. The Doctor could have saved these people, but just kind of refuses to. And there's no reason that these characters have to die, especially when, generally, they're the best written characters. And it's I don't feel sad. I just feel angry that they decided to... Like, Chibnall killed off a good old guy character again, 2 series in a row in the finale. It's remarkable. And this time it wasn't even a sacrifice play. It was just killing for the sake of killing. Just to be like, oh yeah, I can kill a main character. Guess what? If you wanted to kill a main character, you would kill Yaz. I'm sorry, like, I love Yaz as a character, or the potential of what character she could have, because, as I've made very clear, I think that this series has made her out to just be a paper cut out of a character. But, like, if you wanted emotional feedback, emotional residence of killing a character, you'd kill Yaz. Because Yaz is the one character we've actually followed throughout this series, and last series, and the series before. Every other character was new to this series other than the Doctor. And you can't kill a Doctor yet. I think that is my final note. I think they should have killed Yaz. And that hurts to say, because I like Yaz. I like the potential that Yaz has, but honestly, I don't think it's... I don't think we need to see any more of her. I don't think we need to see more of Dan. I almost feel like we should have seen the death of Yaz. Dan goes back to a happier life rather than the sad life he's been given. And the Doctor goes solo for her last 3 adventures. That's my ideal. That's what I think should happen, but no, Chibnall keeps trucking on, keeps writing terrible stories that just make me wish I didn't care about Doctor Who. And that's the main thing. Sure, I've complained about this series, and I did so just as much, mostly on Twitter, about last series and the series before that. But I wanted to enjoy them. I didn't want to be like the people, some of which I know. I have family that swore off watching this show when Jodie was cast. I didn't want to give up on this show just because a bad writer had taken it over and they'd cast a female Doctor. I don't have an issue with there being a female Doctor. I have an issue with them writing a female Doctor so unlikable that I literally don't like the Doctor anymore. And I've had plenty of people on Twitter saying to me that I take it too seriously, that I shouldn't care this much. It's a nonsense show. You know, that there shouldn't be this much to be complaining about. I kind of agree. But at the same time, this is a show that I've spent the better half of my life watching, enjoying, and I've spent over half a decade talking about this show, writing about this show. I have spent hours upon hours discussing this show. I have wrote tens, if not hundreds of thousands of lines about this show. Both in notes, both in scripts, both in articles, even in various bits of academic literature that I've written over the years. This show was close to me. I love this show. Even as I speak right now, I have 2 Daleks and a Cyberman just on my shelf next to me. Little figures. This show means so much to me. And after this series, I can confidently say that I wish I had never been interested in this show. Because, you know, during Tennant's era, I was terrified of this show. And I refused to watch it. The first 5-6 years of this show, I never watched it. And then Matt Smith captured me. And I've been a fan ever since. I love Eccleston's run. I love Tennant's run, as everyone does. I love a lot of classic. The Fourth Doctor is one of my favourites. I've stuck with this show through all the downs. I even defended it. I used to be someone that defended this show a lot. Especially through the Capaldi years and the later Smith years, especially with Clara. I defended those years. tooth and claw. I defended them crazily. And now I'm sat here on the opposite side of that, where I'm just complaining, kind of for complaining's sake at this point, because I guess I've outgrown the show. It's just sad, really. And I didn't want to end it on this sort of a note. I've been riffing at this point. I'm not on my notes anymore. This is just my honest thoughts. But I wanted to love this show. I wanted to love this series. I wanted this to be the series where I actually started enjoying Jodie's Doctor. But Chibnall is an old dog, and I shouldn't expect him to learn new tricks. So on that though, that's going to be it for this thoughts video. Based on the length of some of these thoughts, I'm expecting my review to be hours long. But that is something that I've already, as I said, started working on the scripting for. And I expect it to be out before the New Year special. No promises. But this series deserves my full time to discover anything good out of it, because I need to find something that I can enjoy about this series. Because other than nostalgia bait, like the Sontarans and the Cybermen, and even the Angels to some extent, I have felt nothing but anger and sadness towards this series. But in any case, thanks for watching. If you managed to get through this far and you actually enjoyed the video, make sure to like it. Subscribe if you're interested in more thoughts videos, reviews, all that kind of thing. Now that Doctor Who's over and I'm just focusing on Hawkeye, I will be doing other content rather than just the Fast Track stuff, which I know some of you are here for my political commentaries, which, yeah, going straight from complaining about Doctor Who to complaining about politics, this is going to be a fun bit of whiplash. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time, and yeah. Bye.
It's been a long week. I feel like I could use a vacation. I can hardly think. It's like the worst